He answered his country's call.
He deployed to the Middle East to do a full tour.
She was the woman he left behind.
You can only imagine the longing.
And despite the challenges, they made it work.
They were together for 13 years.
They had 4 beautiful daughters.
They had a bright future ahead of them.
Until, after surviving Afghanistan, he died at his own front door.
She hears a knock at the door.
The next thing she hears are gunshots.
It looked like it was personal. It was an execution.
Was it also a betrayal?
They find hundreds of text messages.
They found new pictures.
This was more than just a fling.
But does it add up to murder?
It ain't against the law to cheat.
Or is the obvious suspect not always the right one?
They are gloating about their crime.
They consider themselves Bonnie and Clyde.
Talk about a plot twist.
This man lost his life because of that?
April 7th, 2021. It's late Wednesday night in Newport News, Virginia, a hard-working port city just across the James River from Norfolk, home to the U.S. Navy's Atlantic Fleet.
Newport News is pretty much a military town because you got one of the biggest naval bases on the East Coast right here. And you also got a couple surrounding Army bases as well.
You have a lot of active and retired military in and around Newport News.
And at 2 o'clock that April morning, the wife of one former serviceman makes a frantic call to 911.
911, what is your emergency?
Something's happened to my husband.
Okay, calm down. What is your name?
The caller is 36-year-old Danielle Shabazz.
Danielle told the operator that she and her children were away from the house that night.
But she called her husband, 39-year-old Sal Shabazz, to say goodnight.
Hey, baby, how's it going?
Hey.
Danielle and her husband were on the phone talking, and all of a sudden, she hears a knock at the door.
Hold on, somebody's at the door.
Who?
He went to see who it was.
What's up? Can I help you?
She hears her husband talking to whoever is at the door.
What are you talking about, man?
The next thing she hears are a series of bangs.
Well, don't even worry about it.
Sal. I don't know. I think it was gunshots.
Then the phone goes silent.
He won't answer me.
Your mind would just run the gamut of possibilities. Your mind just starts spinning.
She was completely terrified that something had happened to him.
Please send somebody to the house.
Sal Shabazz grew up in South Bend, Indiana, as one of 12 siblings.
His mother had 6 children, and then she adopted 6 more.
I couldn't do it without God. He called me to be the mother of these children, and he equipped me to do so, to parent them.
The fact that half his siblings were adopted wasn't all that set Sal's family apart.
He grew up with his mom being Christian, his father being of the Islam faith.
His full name is Saladin Ibn Shabazz. Saladin is an Arab name.
He was named from a historical sultan from Egypt and Syria who fought the Crusaders in the Holy Land.
From an early age, Sal lived up to his heroic name.
He was a star athlete when he was in high school.
He played varsity football from the day he walked into high school all the way through. He's broke all kind of records that have yet today to be broken.
He was very popular.
Sal Shabazz is that all-American kind of dude.
After finishing high school, Sal continued his success in college.
Sal played football for Grand Valley State and then transferred to Minnesota State.
However, he didn't graduate. Instead, his life careened in a different direction.
While he was in college, Sal's on-again, off-again, long-term girlfriend, Danielle Holland, got pregnant.
Sal and Danielle had known one another since they were kids.
With the impending birth of their daughter, Sal and Danielle decided to make their relationship official.
They got married in 2007. They got married at the courthouse on New Year's Eve. It was like a quick wedding.
And Sal chose a different path for his life to support his family.
Sal enlisted in the Army. He came to me one day and said, "Mom, I want a way to provide for my family, so I'm going to go to the service."
Although it wasn't without risks.
Sal was immediately deployed to the Middle East to do a full tour in Afghanistan.
And the disruptions didn't end once Sal came home from overseas.
Once Sal returned from his deployment, he was stationed in Newport News, Virginia. So Danielle packed up with her husband and they moved 800 miles away from Indiana to the Chesapeake Bay.
Together, they built a new life in Virginia.
Sal and Danielle had 4 daughters.
Danielle was working at the post office as a mail carrier, and once Sal got discharged from the military, he got a job as a forklift operator.
A decade after Sal first shipped off to Afghanistan, he and Danielle had beaten the odds.
A lot of military couples don't last after the spouse is away for such a long time.
Sal and Danielle were the exception.
It was almost like they were meant for each other.
He's a good husband, awesome dad. He always was a provider.
They had a bright future ahead of them.
Only now, Danielle fears something terrible has happened to her husband.
Sal's wife has called Newport News police after hearing what she believes to be gunshots.
They had been talking on the phone when she heard the bangs.
He won't answer me.
And at that point, 911 dispatches the police to the house to investigate.
When officers arrive, they see nothing alarming. At first,
the front door is closed. There's no sign of a gunman.
There are no signs of forced entry.
Sheriff's office.
Not taking any chances, the police carefully make entry into the Shabazz home.
Inside, they find a horrific scene.
The first thing they see is Sal Shabazz lying on the floor.
He's laying in a pool of blood.
He had been shot 4 times.
Hard-working forklift driver and Army veteran Sal Shabazz was as all-American as they come.
Sal was a very nice guy, a cool person, easy to get along with.
He had integrity, he was kind, he was honest.
And he was raising 4 children with the love of his life, his wife, Danielle.
She was someone that he felt that he could build something with, build a life with, build a family with.
But now, police are at Sal and Danielle's home in response to a desperate 911 call.
Danielle, she's on the phone with her husband, and he hears a knock at the door, and the next thing she hears are these bangs.
Sal! Sal!
She knows in her gut something's wrong.
When police enter the home, they discover that Danielle was right to fear the worst.
Sal's lying on the floor in a pool of blood.
He was bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds.
He was pronounced dead at the scene.
When homicide detectives arrive, they start their investigation by examining Sal's body.
He's been shot 2 times in the torso, twice in the head, execution style.
Near the body, homicide detectives find 4 shell casings lying on the floor.
They then took those casings and sent them off to ballistics to be tested.
Ballistics could eventually lead detectives to the murder weapon, but there's little at the scene to suggest the killer's motive.
A thorough search of the home shows that there was nothing disturbed, which ruled out the potential for robbery.
This was deliberate, This was intentional.
The question was, why target Sal?
Looking for answers, the detectives canvassed the neighborhood.
Officers talked to neighbors and asked them if they had any information.
None of the neighbors reported seeing anything suspicious.
Everybody was asleep at the time of the crime.
But the canvas could still provide some crucial information.
How you doing?
Hey. The neighbor across the street had a doorbell camera.
Doorbells have been used in cases across the country to assist in getting information to police.
With the homeowner, detectives review the doorbell cam surveillance footage.
This video shows a black SUV which pulls up at 2 in the morning.
A shadowy black figure gets out of the SUV and then walks up to Sal's house.
Sal opened the door. They had an exchange of words.
Then the figure at the door pulled out a gun and started shooting.
The shooting played out exactly as Danielle described.
The video also appears to confirm that Sal's murder was a targeted hit.
The suspect jumps back in the SUV and he peels off with the headlights turned off.
This was strictly about killing this person.
But confirmation of how it happened doesn't get detectives any closer to solving the case.
They can't make out the person or the license plate number.
With no other leads, investigators turn to the closest thing to a witness they have.
Investigators' next move is to speak to the person who was on the phone when it happened, Danielle.
The officers sent a cruiser to pick Danielle up and bring her in to see if she could offer any additional information as to what happened to her husband.
We're sorry for your loss.
When Danielle sits down with detectives, it appears that she is still in shock.
This is a tough situation. Danielle just lost her husband. But police have to do their job.
Detectives ask Danielle to start by walking them through the events leading up to her call to 911.
We were just saying goodnight, and everything was just fine until someone knocked on the door.
Hold on, somebody's at the door.
She said he goes to the door, he answers it. She hears a conversation.
Sal.
And she hears what sounds like gunshots, and then the phone goes silent.
She just doesn't know what to do at that point.
However, Danielle does know one thing.
Do you have any idea who was at the door?
She does not hesitate to give them an answer.
There's no question in her mind who did this. No question.
It's this woman that works with me, Tashara Jackson.
Sal Shabazz's wife, Danielle, has just told detectives who she thinks gunned down the 39-year-old Army veteran in the foyer of their Newport News, Virginia home.
Sal.
Danielle tells investigators that she is convinced that Tashara Jackson, who was a fellow co-worker at the post office, is responsible for her husband's death.
What makes you think she was involved?
Tashara and I have been having problems.
She and Tashara have been going back and forth in a feud that began over a dispute at work.
What sort of problems?
I don't even know. It's just like we don't get along.
And according to Danielle, things had recently escalated.
She wanted to Tashara at the nail salon.
Well.
And I guess they have words.
I don't know what you looking at, so you need to put those eyeballs back in your head.
Her and Tashara got into a huge argument outside of the nail salon.
She did admit that while Tashara was getting her nails done, that she in fact slashed her tires.
You slashed Tashara tires?
I know I shouldn't have, but I just got so mad.
And things only got worse from there.
A few days later, according to Danielle, Tashara retaliated.
It was my birthday, and Sal took me to Vegas for the weekend.
When she got back, her car was vandalized.
Someone had spray painted the vehicle, slashed every single tire, and stuck a candy bar in her gas tank.
She knew exactly who it was. She knew that Tashara was behind it.
She didn't call the police, but she just didn't let it go either.
Danielle said the night of the murder, they went to go confront Tashara.
Sal went with you?
Yeah.
He only goes to protect her.
According to Danielle, the confrontation occurred outside a local restaurant.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, right on time. Come and get it. Come and get it.
Because you can't mind your business.
What you gonna do about it?
They get to scrapping, Tashara and Danielle. They're going at it.
Danielle says she was gaining the upper hand when Tashara threatened to take things to the next level.
While she beating Tashara down, Tashara hollers out, grab my pistol out of her car.
That's when Sal and Danielle decided it was time to go.
You guys left?
Yeah, we jumped in the car and we got out of there.
However, Danielle says she was afraid of what would happen next.
She felt like Tashara was going to retaliate.
So she grabs the girls, goes to a hotel.
She just felt that it was safer.
Sal didn't go to the hotel with you?
I tried to get him to come with us, but he wouldn't listen.
He wants to protect his house, protect his home. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. But he just wants to make sure that they have a home to come back to.
Can you please come?
I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna protect this house, okay?
Sal, being a man, he's gonna stand his ground. If anybody comes up in here, they're gonna have to deal with me.
A few hours later, Sal was dead.
Which is why Danielle is so sure that Tashara killed him.
But while Danielle is certain, the detectives aren't so sure.
Why would this work feud escalate to where somebody is now dead?
It raises questions as Danielle trying to throw the detectives off to look in a different direction.
To rule her out definitively, detectives ask Danielle to submit to a GSR test.
It isn't uncommon in a murder to look at the spouse first.
They did do gunshot residue analysis just to make sure that she wasn't the shooter.
Based on the neighbor's door cam, though, the shooter wasn't a woman.
They are looking for a black male.
If she were not the trigger person, gunshot residue can be transferred very easily.
While they wait for the results, detectives move on to the only other lead they have, Tashara Jackson. But when she sits down for questioning the following morning, they're surprised by what they find.
She's the opposite of what Danielle portrays her as.
Tashara, based on Danielle's account, is evil, vindictive, but Tashara was in fact a loving, nurturing, church-going person with no criminal record, no violent history.
And according to Tashara, that's not the only thing contrary to what Danielle led them to believe.
Once detectives sit down with Tashara, they begin to hear a very different side of the feud between Tashara and Danielle.
Let me just tell you, she's crazy.
Tashara tells detectives that it is in fact Danielle who has been the instigator in this feud.
What supposedly triggered the feud is what really raised red flags for the detectives.
Tashara tells investigators feud began when she found out that Danielle was having an affair with another one of their co-workers.
Danielle Shabazz told detectives investigating her husband's murder that she was certain her co-worker Tashara Jackson was responsible.
Danielle and Tashara work at the post office together, but over the past month or so, they've been having this feud.
But according to Tashara, Danielle hadn't told detectives the whole story.
Tashara reveals to detectives that Danielle was having an affair.
His name is Rob Barnes. He works with us at the post office.
That co-worker happens to be the husband of Tashara's best friend.
According to Tashara, The feud started because she was not happy that Danielle was sleeping with her best friend's husband.
Tashara felt like Danielle was the one who escalated the entire feud when she took it upon herself to slash her tires at the nail shop.
Is that when you trashed her car?
I never touched her car.
She makes it clear that she would have never attempted to hurt her and she would not have killed her husband.
Then who did?
You need to ask Danielle. She's the one who's been cheating.
Tashara is pointing the finger at Danielle, and Danielle is pointing the finger at Tashara.
However, if Danielle is having an affair, that could give her motive to get rid of her husband.
They knew that she didn't pull the trigger, but could she have possibly had her lover do it?
To determine if Tashara is telling the truth, detectives pulled Danielle's phone records.
The detectives were able to confirm that she was, in fact, having an affair with Rob Barnes.
They find hundreds of very sexually explicit text messages between Danielle and Rob.
But as steamy as the affair was, it didn't appear to be a mere fling.
Danielle and Rob were exchanging I love you text messages.
They potentially want to be together now.
Could that have led to Sal's murder?
Or did Danielle have another reason to get rid of her husband?
When detectives dug into Danielle's past, they found out that her perfect marriage may have not been so perfect after all.
Records show that Danielle had taken out a protective order against Sal. Danielle told investigators that Sal had headbutted her after finding messages between Danielle and another man in her phone.
But when investigators talked to people who knew the couple, it sounds more like Danielle might not be so innocent.
He and Danielle had a very, very toxic relationship.
In fact, the problem started well before they were ever married.
For their senior prom, he took another young lady and Danielle sliced the tires on the car.
It was the same thing that Danielle did to Tashara years later.
According to Sal's mother, similar incidents occurred throughout the couple's relationship.
Once she was mad at Sal, she took all his clothes and put them in a pile and poured bleach on them.
By 2021, the marriage appeared all but over.
They were talking about separating, but he did not want to leave his kids. I used to tell Sal to make the necessary sacrifices to try to keep his family together for the sake of his girls.
But for all of Sal's reasons to stick things out, detectives soon learned that Danielle had potentially one big reason to want him gone.
Sal had a $156,000 life insurance policy.
The beneficiary is Danielle.
If Danielle is having this affair, the motive would be if I can get rid of my husband, collect on his policy, me and Rob Barnes got a couple extra dollars.
But an affair and a six-figure insurance policy still aren't enough to prove that Danielle was involved in her husband's death.
Nothing that the officers have is a nail in the coffin, but it damn sure didn't look good.
It did give detectives a little leverage, though.
Armed with what they've learned, detectives bring Danielle in for another round of questioning.
They immediately asked Danielle if she had any issues in her marriage to Sal.
What do you mean?
She told them they were fine, they were in a happy marriage.
She also disputes that she was messing around with Rob Barnes.
We're friends. We work together. That's all.
What she didn't know is investigators already saw the text messages.
Danielle finally concedes, yes, she was having an affair.
But it's not what you think.
She insists she had nothing to do with Sal's death.
Danielle tells detectives that she and Sal may not have had the perfect relationship, but she would have never wanted to hurt him.
She also informed the officers that she didn't even know about the life insurance policy until after he was dead.
Not that her denials do anything to relieve the detectives' suspicions.
She withheld vital information.
Still doesn't give investigators enough to charge her with anything.
However, there's also one piece of vital information that detectives have withheld from Danielle.
The gunshot residue test that was performed on Danielle during her first interview came back.
Danielle tested positive for gunshot residue.
Danielle, you tested positive for GSR.
How you gonna explain that?
When detectives investigating her husband's murder confronted Danielle Shabazz about the affair she was having with a coworker, the mother of four admitted that she'd been unfaithful.
While she finally owned up to the affair, she kept insisting she had nothing to do with her husband's murder.
Investigators find what Danielle is saying hard to believe.
Because detectives have recently received results from the gunshot residue test they conducted on Danielle just hours after the shooting.
And these results revealed that Danielle did in fact have residue on her hands.
When detectives confront Danielle with this information, she is genuinely stunned.
How you gonna explain that?
I did not shoot a gun that night. I swear.
Danielle is like, I have no idea where that came from.
And based on the evidence, it wasn't Danielle who shot Sal 4 times just inside the couple's front door.
They know that a man killed Sal.
If you go back to that video footage from the doorbell video, it definitely was a man who pulled the trigger.
But does that mean Danielle wasn't involved?
Detectives theorize that Danielle may have recruited her lover Rob to do the murder.
And when Danielle and her lover connected at a later point, that gunshot residue could have been transferred by the holding of hands or touching something that the trigger man touched.
Could that explain how gunshot residue ended up on Danielle's hands?
That's not the only possible explanation.
She could have gotten the residue on her hands in an innocent way.
It could have happened when she rode to the police station in the police cruiser.
Which means the gunshot residue alone is not enough to make an arrest.
All of that is just a theory rooted in speculation. And investigators will have to have more evidence before they are able to move forward with any murder charges.
And while Danielle and Rob's cell phone records provide plenty of evidence of an affair, that's all detectives are able to find.
They look through their text exchanges, and they don't have any evidence of any back and forth about plotting to kill Sal.
Police also found that there was no evidence in their phone records that had them reaching out to a third party to hire the hit.
In fact, the cell phone records appear to exonerate both Danielle and her lover.
When detectives pulled their GPS locations at the time of the murder, they hit a stumbling block.
Rob nor Danielle were even in the area based on the data from the phone records.
She was nowhere close, nor was Rob.
Does that mean Danielle and her lover are innocent? Or does it mean they're smart?
Maybe Rob left his phone at home on purpose, and Danielle made that phone call to Sal from the hotel so the cops couldn't place her at the scene.
Either way, the detectives are no closer to solving Sal's murder.
They just don't have enough evidence.
They didn't have a choice other than to continue with the investigation.
So detectives decide to take a second look at Tashara Jackson, the co-worker Danielle named as Sal's killer.
Just to rule her out, the detectives pulled Tashara's cell phone records.
Although instead of ruling Tashara out, the detectives make a surprising discovery.
GPS evidence puts Tashara in close proximity to the scene of the killing, at the time of the killing.
The records don't put her at the scene of the crime, but the reason why also arouses suspicion.
Tashara's phone was turned off only moments before the murder.
Wasn't turned back on until several hours after
This is a stunning revelation for police. Maybe Danielle was right from the beginning, and Tashara did have something to do with Sal's murder.
However, there is still one piece of the puzzle missing.
They know that Sal was shot by a man.
She must have been waiting in the car when it happened, but who could it have been that got out of the car and actually pulled the trigger?
Digging through Tashara's phone records, the detectives soon come up with a possible answer.
In the weeks leading up to the murder, Tashara had been communicating regularly with another man who also worked at the post office.
His name is Jeremy Petway.
And they weren't talking about mail. They were having an affair.
Which is wild, considering Danielle's workplace affair is what started the feud with Tashara.
All these people sleeping around. What the heck they had going on in that post office?
Based on the text messages, Tashara's affair with Jeremy was just as hot and heavy as Danielle's tryst with Rob.
Nude photos had been sent, and the conversation even included how good their sex was. They also discussed leaving their partners and being together.
And much more important for detectives, that's not all the lovers discussed.
There are text messages where Tashara is telling Mr. Petway that she appreciates him looking out for her.
Jeremy takes back that he was the protector.
They have this exchange about being Bonnie and Clyde.
Detectives investigating the murder of 39-year-old Sal Shabazz were all but convinced that his wife Danielle was behind his death. But new information has just turned the case on its head.
Cell phone records put Danielle's co-worker, Tashara Jackson, and Tashara's lover, Jeremy Petway, near the scene where the murder occurred.
Danielle had been pointing the finger at Tashara from the beginning.
She and this co-worker had some sort of a feud or rivalry.
Based on Tashara and Jeremy's text, Danielle was right about Tashara all along.
Although Tashara and Jeremy do not openly admit to killing Sal Shabazz, the implications are clear. In the days following the shooting, Tashara told Jeremy, "You didn't hesitate."
And he calls them Bonnie and Clyde.
To detectives, it is clear that they are gloating about their crime.
And one of Jeremy's last text messages leaves little doubt they're responsible for Sal's death.
Jeremy tells Tashara, "I gave the gun to one of our friends at work."
Detectives assumed they're texting about the murder weapon.
Investigators quickly follow up on what they've learned from the phone records.
Investigators got a warrant to search the home of the friend that Jeremy mentioned in the text message.
Police show up to this person's house.
Who else is in the house with you?
And as luck would have it, Jeremy is also there.
Jeremy, step outside. You're under arrest. Hands behind your back.
The police place Jeremy under arrest and search the house.
Upstairs under the friend's bed, detectives find the handgun.
The officers send the gun straight to ballistics to be tested. And when the results came back, it was indeed the weapon that was used to kill Sal.
It's just slam dunk in the mind of the investigators.
Detectives also take Tashara into custody.
She asks for an attorney and refuses to make a statement.
And at the police station, Jeremy insists that the only relationship they have is as co-workers.
But Jeremy's denials and Tashara's silence do little to deter the detectives.
Even without their confessions, police are ready to charge them with first-degree murder.
Newport News police did their job, and they did it well.
Despite everyone suspecting Danielle, the arrest couldn't have happened without her.
She was a big help because she was on the phone when it all happened.
She was also the person to first put the police on to Tashara.
But when Tashara Jackson goes on trial in March of 2022, it's also clear that her feud with Danielle led directly to Sal's death.
All of this started with Tashara not being happy about Danielle having an affair with her best friend's husband.
The disagreement escalated when Tashara and Danielle got into the argument in front of the nail salon. Danielle slashed Tashara's tires.
To retaliate, Tashara vandalized Danielle's car.
And things only escalated from there.
That led to the beatdown that Danielle gave Tashara in the restaurant parking lot.
For Tashara, it was the last straw.
She wanted to end this feud once and for all.
Prosecutors lay out how, after that altercation at the restaurant, Tashara calls her friend, Jeremy.
Now, we need to get this girl. We're gonna get her.
That begins the murder plot that ultimately ends in the death of Sal.
Just bring the car, bring the gun.
And early on the morning of April 7th, just hours after the parking lot showdown, Tashara and Jeremy set their plan in motion.
Using their phone records, prosecutors was able to show that Jeremy went to pick Tashara up.
Then, as they neared Danielle and Sal's house, Jeremy and Tashara turned off their phones.
She turns her cell phone off, not realizing that investigators can go back and see that you turned it off just before this man got killed.
But the neighbor's doorbell cam captured what happened next.
Jeremy got out of the car and went up to Danielle and Sal's front door.
They intended to shoot her, but they didn't know she wasn't at home.
They had no idea that Danielle had taken the children to the hotel.
So?
Instead, it was Sal who answered the door.
Yeah, I heard you got a problem with Tashara.
Man, we know what happened.
What are you talking about? Man, don't even worry about it.
Had Danielle answered the door, she would have been the one who was killed.
Then Jeremy ditched the gun with a friend, and when detectives brought her in for questioning, Tashara used the affair to turn suspicion towards Danielle.
Then who did?
You need to ask Danielle. She's the one who's been cheating.
They thought they had it all figured out.
But the defense can't explain away Tashara's phone records.
With the text messages, there's no doubt left that this is what happened.
Even though they did not have confessions, they did not have eyewitnesses, they had enough evidence that when you put it all together, it painted one very ugly picture.
Would it be enough to convince the jury?
The jury finds Tashara guilty after less than an hour of deliberation.
And Jeremy meets the same fate.
Jeremy is convicted following his own trial.
They were both sentenced to 39 years in prison.
Tashara's lawyer tried to argue the fact that, well, since he pulled the trigger, maybe we can get her less time. The judge said, nope, she gonna get the same time as he got.
Even though the family of the deceased wanted life without parole, they were satisfied with the verdict.
I think about the number of families that don't get justice. I'll take 39 years, it's better than nothing.
He was a caregiver. He was working hard to send money back to Cuba for his mother and grandmother.
He was living his best life. You know, he had a relationship, a great job, great friends.
The dispatcher hears someone screaming.
After that, 2 gunshots, and the line goes dead.
He says, hey, it's over between us. I found a new person. He blindsides him.
This is like a complete shock to his system. He's now enraged.
You've got unrequited lover who is angry because he's been fooled.
No, I need you to tell me. Is this something that got out of control?
To plan the breaking and entering, to bind him, the knife, the hammer, this is overkill. Like, this is insane.
St. Petersburg, Florida. Around 10 a.m. on December 21st, 2011, Pinellas County 911 receives a harrowing phone call.
The dispatcher, on the other hand, basically hears someone screaming.
You could hear the sheer terror in the victim's voice. And the 911 operator was trying to get a location for where he was, but he was so terrified that he couldn't spit it out.
What is the address?
The dispatcher tried to identify who the person was on the other end of the call. What they can get from him is that his name was Landy.
Then the call takes another disturbing turn.
Here's what appears to sound like 2 gunshots. And at that point, the screaming stops.
The line goes dead. No one answered the phone on callback.
The dispatcher jumps into action.
They're able to use the cell towers to try to triangulate the area where the call was being made from. Because it's coming from a cell phone, it's not exact. It can give you an area within a couple of blocks, sometimes, or within a couple of 100 feet.
2 deputies, 2 separate units were dispatched to the location.
It's about quick thinking, getting people on the ground to try and find out what's going on and possibly locate or stop whatever is happening to Landy.
Landy Martinez Esquivel was born in Cuba on December 13, 1990.
Landy Martinez moved here with his father to South Florida when he was about 4 years old.
His mom, his grandmother, and I guess other siblings were still in Cuba.
He came out when he was 18 to his family and friends. His father supported him. He decided to make a break and move to the St. Petersburg area. For the LGBTQ community, there was a real shift in around 2010 and both a couple of years before and afterwards, where St. Pete really became the epicenter for that community to live, thrive, open their own businesses, small businesses, restaurants, bars, that sort of thing.
Handsome and friendly, Landy found an instant community in St. Pete.
He was just this very fun-loving, outgoing person who loved people, loved his friends, just liked to have a good time.
He wanted to be, an openly gay man in a friendly community. He really genuinely loved people and loved being around people.
To support himself, Landy worked as a certified nursing assistant.
He started working in a skilled nursing facility where he took a real liking to the elderly people that had Alzheimer's.
He was working hard to send money back to Cuba for his mother and grandmother. He was a caregiver, he would help the residents take showers, get dressed, eat, helped with activities. If they were lonely, he'd sit by them and things like that. He actually really cared about all the residents, and they loved him to death.
At age 19, Landy began dating Jose Adame.
He did introduce me to him, told me they met over the internet, invited me over to the house. First impression, he seemed nice, sweet, genuine. They were a typical couple, cute, little kissies here and there, hugs, hold hands.
Once he found, his first real boyfriend online, he really devoted himself to that person. And that's, I think, he strived for in his early life, is that's what he wanted. He wanted to find love.
Eventually, the couple moved in together.
Landy's working at a nursing home, helping people at the end of their life. Jose's kind of a stay-at-home person.
Jose, he wasn't legal, so he couldn't really get a job right away. Odds and ends, like he was a Avon lady. You can go door to door, but he would give Landy or me books. We'd take him to work.
From Landy's perspective, he was living his best life. He had, a relationship with someone who he obviously cared a great deal for. He had a great job, great friends.
But on the morning of December 21st, 2011, 21-year-old Landy makes a desperate call to 911.
You hear him pleading for his life. After that, you hear 2 gunshots, and the line goes dead.
When he's calling into 911, they can kind of use the cell towers to try to narrow down the area in which they are, but they can't get an exact address. Once they get to the area, then the deputies have to start knocking on doors and find out if anybody heard or saw anything.
Then about an hour after the initial call, another 911 call is received from North Carolina.
The caller identifies herself as Yadira Guzman.
She calls in and says, my girlfriend and I are snow skiing in North Carolina. We have security cameras on our house. They're no longer working. They could see it from their smartphone.
So she immediately called 911 because why were the cameras not on? It was very odd that there was no feed coming from them.
Something else adds to her concern.
She had been trying to reach her roommate, Landy Martinez. He wasn't answering phone calls, wasn't responding to text messages.
Here's the address. I have a real concern. Can you please do a welfare check?
The deputies were dispatched out to the address.
They knock on the front door, but get no response.
As the deputies walked around the back of the house, they realized that there was a broken window to the back of the house and that the screen to that window was sitting on the ground beneath the window. There's also a door to the back of the house that was slightly ajar. And at that point, deputies realized that there could be something going on inside the house, requested backup, and eventually entered the house.
These are tricky situations when you have, an open door or a broken window. Is the suspect still inside?
The deputies began to walk down the hallway, just clearing rooms as they go down. They reach the bathroom about 2/3 of the way down the hallway. Notice that there's some blood on the floor in there. The water's running inside the sink. And as they continued to clear the house, they made it to a bedroom that was on the northeast corner of the house. And that's when they found the victim deceased in the home.
That they found a Hispanic male victim face down on the floor, blood. He was wearing a t-shirt and underwear, and they noticed that he was soaking wet.
A look at his driver's license photo confirms the victim is the original 911 caller, Landy Martinez.
He's clearly deceased, so they back out and they secure the residence.
When they go out to do a welfare check, the best for them is when they find the person and he or she is okay. In this instance, it came with the other one. There's a crime scene here, there's a homicide now, and we've got to go from trying to find if this person's okay to find out who did it.
About an hour after he placed a desperate 911 call, Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies discover the body of 21-year-old Landy Martinez inside a St. Petersburg home. Detectives arrive on the scene.
He is soaking wet. He's still wearing his underwear and a t-shirt. But there were knife wounds on Landy's hands and parts of his body.
The victim had what appeared to have been tape residue on his arms and on his legs.
He had a lot of wounds on him. He had a lot of bruising on the hands. He had the laceration on the forehead.
The wounds are mostly superficial until investigators identify the cause of death.
He had been shot on the left side of his head, right behind the left ear. He had also been shot once in the chest.
There were shell casings that were recovered near his body, which means that, he was shot at fairly, close range.
Investigators searched the house for more evidence.
The whole place was just like ransacked, as if there had been a fight or something.
It looks like it was potentially a burglary. You had electronics that were stacked up, near the door, duffel bags that were full of electronics. The TV was taken off the wall.
But a closer look points to something more sinister.
In the bathroom, it's kind of old style where it's a tub with a shower and it has the sliding glass doors. Those doors are off the track and angled. There's blood, visible blood, on the inside of the tub, on the outside of the tub.
The victim had to be in the bathroom at some point in time, and that there was some sort of a struggle that went on.
There was a knife on the counter of the sink. There was a hammer, a claw hammer on the sink counter. And there was a cotton glove, like gardening glove, inverted, kind of balled up like it was taken off. It was only one glove, not two. In the bathroom, we find duct tape, pieces of duct tape. Upon further examination, you'll see hair stuck to the duct tape. And then when you examine the body, you'll see where his wrists are missing hair. And you'll also be able to see the width, which is consistent with the duct tape. And it's kind of a lighter color. And then the same thing we see on his ankles.
He was clearly bound with duct tape, probably placed in the shower at some point, was being, tortured.
An exhaustive search of the house turns up a potentially important piece of evidence.
Landy's cell phone was actually found in the bedroom just south of where he was. According to the investigator that located the cell phone, it was under the mattress in the bedroom in the southeast corner of the house.
Investigators locate the security cameras.
The cameras were all exterior cameras. Although you could look at the cameras real time, nothing was being recorded.
The live feeds had been disconnected when whomever it was that was inside the house disconnected the computer.
You've got a very serious crime scene, what appears to be a murder. And so now you got to shift into the mode of who did this and where are they?
Based on a clue from Landy's 911 call, detectives believe they might be looking for more than one suspect.
He said that they are trying to kill me. We believe at least, at a minimum, that there were at least two people involved. There could have been more, but we know that there's at least two people that were involved. Evidence-wise, there's nothing at the scene that points to a specific person.
So they started combing the neighborhood to see if there were any suspicious folks around, or if any of the neighbors saw anything, or there was any video from a home camera, a security camera.
The neighborhood canvassing detectives were able to come up with, there were two people at the time of this offense going door to door selling magazine subscriptions. Generic description, younger males, college age.
There were two guys on the day of the murder that were selling magazines door to door. And some of the neighbors said they were extremely aggressive and felt like, at least one said they wanted to come in the house and she didn't want to let them in the house. They thought, they sound like good suspects.
There was a potential, could one of them have done this? Where are they? How far have they gotten?
Pinellas County homicide detectives are at a St. Petersburg, Florida home, where 21-year-old Landy Martinez was shot and possibly tortured.
What we found out was that a number of neighbors had solicitors that had been coming to their house that morning to sell magazines. So what we had to do was to try to determine, was it legitimate that there were solicitors in the area that morning, or could this have been potential suspects?
One of the neighbors had a business card, so we're able to assign a detective to that lead.
While a detective follows up on the solicitors, another investigator makes a phone call to Yadira Guzman, Landy's roommate who called 911.
She proceeds to tell them about the relationship that our victim had with his ex-boyfriend.
They'd been in a relationship for an extended period of time, on and off, a little over a year. They were in the house for about 5 months when they decided to split, end their relationship, and Jose was told to leave the residence. It wasn't amicable, the split.
Those cameras were put in after Jose had moved out of the house. And they were actually put in because of Jose.
She explains that the breakup had set off a series of back-and-forth retaliation attempts between the ex-lovers.
There were times immediately following the relationship in which Jose had taken a car that belonged to the victim and took it to North Carolina and was purposely running red lights so that the victim could get tickets in the mail.
He was trying to punish Landy, I think, thinking that they'd think it's Landy's car and he would get the tickets.
But according to Yadira, Landy wasn't going to let Jose get the best of him.
So to get the car back, Landy tells Jose, I want to get back together, meet me at this McDonald's, and we'll get back together, and bring me the car.
Landy calls the sheriff's office and requests the deputy to come out to stand by to keep the peace. So Jose parks the vehicle. Landy gets up, goes and meets the deputy and tells him, hey, that's my vehicle. That's my ex-boyfriend. I want his stuff out of it. I'm taking it back.
The deputies confirmed that the car is registered to our victim, takes the keys.
And Landy takes all of Jose's belongings and dumps them out, and then drives the car away and leaves Jose there by himself to fend for himself. This really angered Jose.
It was a victory for Landy as he just left them there in the parking lot, and drove home. He accomplished what he wanted to, and he took control back of the situation.
The call with Yadira puts Jose on their radar. She also gives investigators another name to look into.
Our victim had recently started dating someone else. That person, his name was Jonathan. So with her providing information on how to get a hold of Jonathan, we have to now reach out to Jonathan to make sure that he's not a potential suspect.
Detectives reached Jonathan by phone at his home about an hour and a half from St. Petersburg. He details a phone call he had with Landy the night before.
Landy was repeatedly trying to assure him that everything with Jose had been completely broken off, that he was done with that relationship. He's talking with Landy, and Landy says, I want to call Jose while you're on the phone with me, and I just want you to listen in on the conversation and be assured that the relationship is over with.
It's a three-way call. You be quiet, and I will go through with Jose telling him that this is over, and you can hear it in first person. The night of this murder, around midnight, there's a phone call. He says, hey, it's over between us. Found a new person. I have a new love interest. I'm really attached to this guy. I'm very happy. And Jose says, well, I'm glad for you. Landy then tells Jose, and by the way, Jonathan's on the phone. So he blindsides him on this call.
This is like a complete shock to his system, and he's now enraged because Landy got the best of him.
Jonathan tells detectives that the call ended and he went to work.
After getting off from work, he just decided to text Landy just to make sure everything was okay, let him know that he was off work. And he received a response back from Landy that just said something to the effect of okay.
The responses he was getting from Landy were not making sense. They were very short, they were very curt.
Then Jonathan says he got blindsided.
And then he starts to get text messages back from Landy's phone saying, hey, I want to get back with Jose. Jose is the love of my life. Now this is 6 hours after the three-way call where Landy is professing his love for Jonathan and telling Jose in person he doesn't love him anymore.
And that was completely a 360 from what just happened hours earlier.
The morning after the call with Jonathan, detectives attend the autopsy.
The autopsy confirmed what we were able to see at the crime scene, that the victim had been shot twice. The shot to the head was fatal.
It also backs up another theory.
He did suffer a laceration to the forehead near between the eyes. That's consistent with being struck by the hammer. And that hammer's being in the bathroom, duct tape in the bathroom.
The autopsy confirmed that he was really tortured before he was shot and killed.
But who would commit such a heinous act? Investigators confirm that it wasn't Jonathan.
His alibi, of course, is that he was at work. It was a warehouse job. They had videos, they have a time clock, then he had coworkers.
That leaves one name on their list.
You start getting a lot of information that's pointing towards a certain person, Jose Adame.
Detectives in Pinellas County, Florida, believe that 21-year-old Landy Martinez was tortured before he was shot twice at close range. Landy's ex-boyfriend, Jose Adame, is the top suspect. But all investigators have for now is a hunch.
We haven't been able to develop any of the evidence. We don't have anything that's tying Jose to the crime scene.
They decide to go back and re-listen to the 911 call and clean up some of the audio and see if they can glean any other information about who the possible suspect was.
So what we do next is we're going to transcribe the 911 call. And we're going to document each word and each sound that we hear in that call.
They were able to hear Landy saying something to the effect of, "Stay away, Jose." That then immediately put Jose at the crime scene and involved as the perpetrator.
Was he the only one?
Whether or not there was someone else involved, that still was something they needed to figure out.
Detectives revisit the two men that neighbors reported were selling magazines just before the murder.
The company was out of California, and they hire local college kids. They drop them off in a neighborhood, have them go door to door to sell magazine subscriptions. We were able to locate them and determine what they were doing in the neighborhood and eliminate them as potential suspects.
There was nothing connecting them to the house that Landy was in. Ultimately, they were able to be excluded as suspects by the detectives.
Investigators focus on finding Jose Adame. But with no permanent address since moving out of the house with Landy, this isn't easy.
Where Jose went, it was largely a mystery.
They looked to Landy's friends for help.
We were able to identify a witness, Gail Rigg. She's a dear friend of Landy. They worked together, they were co-workers.
I met with Officer Judy. Pretty much everybody with everything that had gone on the past couple days kind of suspected Jose did it. It's like, I have a gut feeling he did it.
Gail says she has been exchanging messages with Jose in the days since Landy's death. She shows them to detectives.
She tells him, asks, have you heard about Landy? She said, yes, that he has a new boyfriend and he's moving on. She says, no, Landy was murdered last night. He said, oh, that can't be true. I just talked to him, last night.
Jose said he must have missed the news because he has been out of state.
He says, I've been here. I left Florida several days ago.
Investigators want to talk to Jose, but are cautious about hitting the road.
Rather than going up there trying to follow up on this investigation and talking to him realizing that he's a suspect in the case and now he's disappeared and we can't find him anymore, the best thing for us to do is to try to see is there another case that we can use to get him in custody.
Detectives get creative, locating an old police report from nearby High Point.
We locate a report where Jose Adame was found inside a woman's duplex in High Point. He got caught in the house. He was burglarizing it. She did not want to prosecute. We made recontact with her, and she said she did want to prosecute. So we were able to obtain an arrest warrant for burglary on an unrelated case so that we could use the U.S. Marshal Service to locate and take Jose into custody. They have a unit for tracking down fugitives, and they agreed to accept this case, and they were able to locate a possible location for Jose, which was in Hickory, North Carolina.
6 days after Landy's death, Florida detectives traveled to North Carolina.
We made contact with him inside Catawba County Jail. He's read his rights, and he agrees to give us a statement. He told us that he was in Hickory, North Carolina on the dates of the offense. You thought that you got back to North Carolina December 17th, around 10 p.m., is that correct?
Yes, it was a Saturday night.
He talked briefly about being on a phone call with Jonathan, but denied that he was ever in the area at the time that this all occurred. He really tried to portray the breakup, that is, as more of a mutual breakup, that they decided to part ways and that everything was good. They just decided to be good friends. But confronting him with the information that that was not the case, obviously he denied that and wanted to leave it as though everything was fine.
Okay, so it wasn't we weren't angry.
No.
Everybody got along?
Detectives play the 911 call for Jose.
Jose, it's time to tell the truth. Do you want to hear something? I want you to listen to my partner here. He's going to be playing something off of a computer for you, okay? That was Landy. Did you hear Landy screaming for his life? Now's the time to tell the truth. Let's get this behind you.
No, I need you to tell me. Is this something that got out of control? Something that was going to be innocent? Maybe even something that was going to fix things. But it got out of control. It's time, Jose.
What happened, Jose? It's time. Do you want to hear the call again? Is that a yes or no?
But no matter how hard they press, Jose refuses to budge.
He denied any knowledge in the homicide. He denied being in Pinellas County. We don't have enough to charge him with homicide at this time.
One month after Landy Martinez was tortured and killed, his ex-boyfriend, Jose Adame, is being held in a North Carolina jail on unrelated charges.
Although he did not confess to the actual murder, we knew that while we were waiting on our evidence to be developed, that he wasn't going to get away from us.
Investigators need evidence that proves Jose was involved. After weeks of trying, they are finally able to access the contents of Landy's password-protected cell phone.
When we got in the phone, I mean, we're searching the phone. We're going to search the entire phone. It's basically a computer. Well, this one had a video on it, and it was dated the day of the homicide.
We were able to identify some video that was on there that was taken of the victim while he was inside the bathroom.
When you play the video, you actually see Landy bound. He's duct taped. You don't see his ankles, but you do see his wrists. He's duct taped. He's in the same shirt, the same underwear in the video. He's in the bathtub with the shower running on his back. He's crying, and you see his hands, so you know he doesn't have the iPhone. Someone is videotaping him. The person doesn't talk on the videotape, but Landy is crying and he's speaking in Spanish. And basically what he's saying is, I'm a horrible person, I'm terrible, Jose is great, he is the love of my life, nothing is Jose's fault. You know, these kind of statements, which make absolutely no sense for Landy to be making freely and voluntarily.
He's basically telling whomever it was holding the camera and recording this, saying something to the effect of that Jose had nothing to do with this. And right away that tells us that more than likely Jose had something to do with this.
Investigators head back to Hickory. But this time, Jose isn't the only person they want to talk to.
When they get to North Carolina, we identified a mother, identified a sister, and talked to them about, okay, when did he leave? How did he leave? When did he come back? Did anyone go with him when he left? You know, just trying to get as much information as we possibly could.
We go to the residence, and there's a woman walking down the street towards us, towards the house. And we say, hey, are you going to that mobile home? And she says, yeah, that's where my family is. And we say, oh, hey, listen, we're up here about Jose.
The woman identifies herself as Jose's niece. She reveals she was the one who rescued her uncle after Landy left him stranded at a Florida McDonald's.
She says, well, 2 days ago, I took a day off work and drove all the way down to Florida. Yeah? And I picked my uncle up at this house. And then I drove him all the way back home. She says, and he borrowed my mom's car and drove back to Florida. That puts him in Florida on the day of the murder. We ask, where's this vehicle at right now? And she points across the mobile home park. She says, that's my mom's car right there. Now we have the vehicle that was used to transport. There's potential for evidence to be inside that vehicle.
Detectives obtain a search warrant.
They took that car back to the local sheriff's office up there. We had our own forensic specialist there to process the car for us.
The forensic tech finds blood on the steering wheel. We also found the other side of that cotton glove in between the seat and the center console down in there.
The evidence from the vehicle is submitted for testing.
DNA takes a while for it to come back, even to this day. So DNA evidence is exciting, but it isn't now. It isn't instant. I hope we have DNA.
As detectives continue to build the case, the cell phone records come in.
Around the time of the homicides, we can actually place his phone within a 2-mile area of the crime scene.
We were able to put Landy's cell phone at the same tower that Jose's on. He said, I'm in Hickory. Well, we know he's in Florida, and they're hitting off the same tower.
And then shortly after that 911 call is made, we can track his phone now leaving that area, going eastbound on Gandy Boulevard towards Tampa and leaving the area.
And now you've established probable cause for his arrest. At least now we can formally charge him.
On February 17th, 2012, Jose Adame is charged with first-degree murder.
He wasn't going to go any further to incriminate himself. He decides to not talk anymore, and he wants a lawyer.
Over 4 years after the brutal torture and murder of Landy Martinez, his ex-boyfriend, Jose Adame, goes on trial in Pinellas County, Florida. The prosecution plays the harrowing 911 call and the video of Landy being tortured for the jury.
I've been a reporter for more than 50 years. I cannot think of a similar crime where detectives have the audio of the crime and the video of the crime. When there is an in-home murder and they've got audio and video on the cell phone and the torturing, that's incredible. I mean, that thing only happens in the movies and TV and never happens in real life, except it did here.
To plan the breaking and entering, to bind him, the knife, the hammer, this is overkill. To put him in the shower and run water on him while you're videotaping him, like, this is insane.
The state presents new evidence in the form of DNA.
The glove left inside the scene, which had Jose Adame's DNA on it, it also had Landy's DNA on it. The glove in North Carolina had Jose's DNA as well as Landy's DNA. The blood on the steering wheel belonged to Landy.
Prosecutors argue that Jose acted out of a twisted drive for vengeance that took root the day Landy left him behind in a McDonald's parking lot.
You've got the torture from an unrequited lover who is angry because he's been fooled a couple of times by Landy. It is from the McDonald's incident to the phone call.
He wasn't going to walk away. That was his motive. He wanted to take back control in one final movement, if you will, in this relationship between him and Landy. He was going to have the last word no matter what, and that included shooting and killing Landy Martinez.
But the defense claims someone else entirely is responsible.
He said, but I had nothing to do with it, and said, he's the one that shot him, he's the one that did it, it wasn't me.
The jury doesn't buy the defense's version of events. On July 15, 2016, a verdict is returned.
Jose was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with no parole.
Jose, just in my opinion, got off easy, basically. You're gonna spend the rest of your life locked away while, an awesomely amazing person is no longer with us.
For investigators, the verdict is a victory. But Landy's final words leave a loose end they can't tie.
It's clear in the original call. They're going to kill me. They are, the contraction, they're going to kill me. There's two perpetrators here. In this case, it's not completely solved. The case is, still being worked on by cold case detectives at the sheriff's office. I do hope that we were able to get the second person and have a successful conclusion.
But Jose's conviction does give Landy's loved ones some room to heal.
I was glad that, the family and his friends would have closure, at least knowing that the person that they knew wanted to harm Landy had been convicted.
He tried to see the good in everybody. Somebody was having a bad day, he was there to, lift their spirits or fix their problem. Help any way he could.
A quiet Atlanta neighborhood faces a horrific crime.
I found a dead body in a trash can.
This looked like a ritualistic killing.
A detective with a passion to solve the case.
I know that it was similar to my aunt's case. It's bringing back some horrible memories.
A dark motive.
The key is marked on his door, and he won't let her in.
Comes to light.
Is he with within the time?
He said that she had gotten into a U-Haul.
But nothing.
Why you got blood, Al?
is as it seems.
Hey, DD, we have a warrant.
He came out and told me that she had got in a van with 2 grand.
Until the case reaches a shocking conclusion.
Man, did you realize I almost hung myself?
Are you kidding me right now? This is crazy. We're on Boulevard in the old 4th Ward section of Atlanta. Driving through this neighborhood feels so nostalgic.
I was an old 4th Warder. I used to live right around the corner from here at one point.
When we worked this beat, we had really hard-working people over here just trying to pay their rent. You got junkies living in the neighborhood. You got other people living in lavish million-dollar homes, all mixed up living down here together.
This place brings back so many memories.
In fact, back in 2015, when we were winding down our careers, there was a wild case that started at this very spot.
Atlanta 911, what is the address of your emergency?
The corner of Highland and Howell Street. I found a dead body in a trash can.
How old does the person appear to be?
I can't tell. I mean, the only thing showing is the feet.
Officers quickly secure the crime scene, and rookie homicide detective Calvin Thomas is assigned lead on the case.
I had been in homicide 9 months at the time that this call came up. I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm still trying to find my footing on how to work a homicide at this particular point. I noticed that there's this big grassy field. Everyone is up underneath this brush of trees that are up there. Everyone is trying to figure out what's going on.
We worked with Calvin back then and took him under our wings.
Calvin Thomas was eager, but he was so humble. And he was like a sponge. And I was really taken aback by his humility and his presence of just trying to understand how this whole homicide things work.
But this was a real murder investigation where the training wheels were coming off, and Calvin was essentially going to have to bring this thing on his own.
The information that I received on this case is that they responded to a call of a person found possibly deceased in a Herbie Kirby. A Herbie Kirby is a trash can. It's what we call in Atlanta. You can see that the person is head first, wrapped up in a blue moving blanket, where they are actually tied with 12-gauge wire. You can't tell whether it's a male or female at that particular time. All you see is their actual shoes.
Let's take a closer look.
The victim is pulled out and laid down, trying to determine how did this person end up the way they ended up.
The victim's a woman.
She had abrasions on her face. She had taken a serious beating. I mean, it's an awful thing to think about what this sister went through, and she probably knew she was going to die.
My mind is kind of really all over the place because it's bringing back some horrible memories at the time. My aunt was murdered in October of 2003. She was located next to an actual dumpster.
Her name was Cassandra Bryant. She was beaten to death. Her body was discarded like a piece of trash. And Quinn and I worked that case like no other case. We made her death matter. And we put that person in prison for killing his aunt.
The top guys in homicide worked my aunt's murder. So it meant a lot to me at that time.
This poor victim is found discarded like a piece of trash. And now Calvin Thomas is the lead detective in a case eerily similar to his own aunt's case.
It was hard at that particular time, but I knew I needed to stay focused, stay professional, and do the job that I needed to do. So our victim at this time does not have an ID, so we didn't know a name. anything associated with the victim.
She's a Jane Doe for now.
As Calvin works the scene, I decide to pay him a visit. I heard the call come up on the radio as I'm heading home that day. I said I want to go by and watch my guy in action.
Knowing that this victim was wrapped in a blanket, put into a trash container, we know right away there's a personal connection between this victim and her killer.
She knew her killer.
The killer's got to get rid of this evidence. They have to push this body to a space that's far away from where they are, because there can be no connection between the killer and the victim. And that's exactly what happened.
I'm thinking about who was her boyfriend, who was the last person she was with. That's kind of what I'm thinking, possibly a domestic violence type incident.
Killer's a local.
So what's next?
Outside in.
I learned this from Quinn. You work the scene from the outside in, and that means so whatever the crime scene tape is, what's going on the outside of that tape. You know, concerned neighbors, just to see whether or not they saw anything.
We immediately meet a guy who claims to be looking for his girlfriend. His name is Isaiah Rhymes. He'd been missing his girlfriend for over 24 hours, and he wanted to make sure that wasn't her that was inside the trash can.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Tina.
He identifies her as Tina Bass. He says everyone calls her Tiny, though. She said this corridor is where she hangs out.
I last saw her about 2 days ago.
He said it's totally uncommon for her not to have reached out to her sister or to himself in 24 hours.
Describe her.
She's kind of short. The information that he gives for Tina, as far as her height, her weight, or what she was last seen wearing, it could definitely be our victim.
Is that her up there?
Isaiah definitely is nervous about it.
Is this her?
Calvin shows him a picture of the victim's face.
Oh, no. Lord, no.
He breaks down. He makes the identification, tears coming down his face. Calvin wonders if Isaiah's tears are real, or is this just an act to make himself appear innocent?
In our past experience, cases where especially a woman has been killed, the boyfriend has done it.
I have questions for you.
I'm really looking at Isaiah really hard at this particular time as a suspect.
This case is about to take Detective Thomas on a wild ride.
There's a wire around her neck.
Detective Calvin Thomas is investigating the murder of Tina Bass.
Killer's a local.
Her body was found stuffed inside of a trash can.
I last saw her about 2 days ago.
Calvin's on it. He interviews Tina's boyfriend to get to the bottom of this thing.
He's distraught and crying, but maybe it's all an act.
I have questions for you.
Right now, I'm looking at Isaiah as a potential suspect. How she was beaten, I relate a lot of that to domestic violence.
Y'all think I did this? Did you kill her?
No.
I can see Isaiah is starting to get a little hot under the collar because of the line of questioning that Calvin Thomas is presenting to him.
I'm sure that you wouldn't mind providing a DNA sample.
Our experience, most of the time, killers don't readily give up their DNA. There's a hesitation.
Sure.
Isaiah immediately responded that he could take his DNA, use it, compare it, do whatever he needed to do to try to eliminate him as a suspect.
I think in my mind that Isaiah is possibly not involved in Tina's murder. Getting the information from Isaiah on the scene of the victim's sister, I was able to contact the sister to let her know that I wanted to come see her. Death notifications are definitely one of the hardest parts of the job. I try to do them face to face.
I'm so sorry.
I knew this day would come.
Tina's sister gave Calvin the background on Tina. She said that Tina was battling drug addiction, and like many people, it had an unbreakable hold on her.
It may have played a part in her death, but as a homicide detective, we do not judge a victim's lifestyle.
No matter who dies, everyone deserves justice.
Do you think Isaiah may have done this?
No.
I'll be in touch.
Tyna's sister didn't have any idea of who could have committed the crime in this particular case.
Hello? Okay, I'm on my way.
Calvin gets word that Tyna's autopsy is complete. He hopes to learn something that can help solve the case. We meet with Calvin to go over the findings.
They said there was blunt force trauma to the face, to the head area, and strangulation. The ligature that was around her neck was white. It's white wire. Matter of fact, I have a couple photos of it that I can show you guys. It was fairly loose around her neck, so it was kind of hard to determine whether or not this was used to strangle her. Send it down to the GBI for touch DNA. I mean, the yellow wire here, as you can, I mean, it's tied like a Boy Scout tied it. So I'm thinking, you know, hands, sweat, anything of that nature could be on it. Because I felt like this was probably going to be a DNA type of a case.
We're looking at DNA, also fingernails. One of the things you did was, cleverly, you preserved those nails.
Just from talking to some of her sister, actually, she said she was a fighter, so I'm almost certain that she fought for her life.
Yeah.
So at that point, we knew, you know, let's go ahead and clip these fingernails and preserve those and send those down to GBI for testing. I believed at that time could be the killer's DNA underneath.
Nice. So now you send this off to the GBI and it's a waiting game. You're waiting for this DNA to come back. What do you do next?
We went back out to the neighborhood, man. I wanted to let the neighbors know that hey, I'm here and we're gonna try to figure out what happened to your friend Tyna.
This is not a homicide that you're gonna sit at your desk and work. This is boots on the ground. This is grinding up shoe leather. I love it. Calvin heads out to Old Fourth Ward on a mission.
Boots on the ground is a term that we use up in homicide. You can't solve a homicide by sitting at your desk all day. So you definitely want to get out there and knock on doors, let the community know that we're trying to solve this crime. The community kept pointing towards a guy by the name of Jeff. And not that he was a suspect in the case, but that he possibly would have information on the case.
The streets were saying Jeff was action news for Old Fourth Ward. If anything went on in Old Fourth Ward, Jeff was going to know about it.
What about this guy? Right here? Yeah, that's him.
Calvin knew there's something there. People aren't making that up. He had to go sit down and do a face-to-face with Jeff.
Jeff identifies himself as Jeffrey Bolton.
I'm Detective Thomas.
Calvin records audio of the interview.
I want to talk to you about Tyna. You know her?
Yeah, we was at the house.
Did you witness anything?
Jeff claims that he saw Tyna the night before her body was found. When Jeff discloses that he saw Tyna the night before the murder, I'm sure it got Detective Thomas excited. I would have been like, oh yeah, my timeline just changed in a big damn way.
Where do you live?
Right there. The actual street is right across the street from where the victim is located. So it's within walking distance from the house that Jeff lives in. According to Jeff, he and Tyna was standing outside, I guess just having a conversation. And then this U-Haul just randomly came down Mackenzie Drive and stopped in front of his house.
I see a U-Haul truck came up. Big U-Haul truck.
He starts to talk about 2 Hispanic males got out of the vehicle and asked where were the ladies. And Tyna identified herself as, I'm right here.
I kind of don't know the folks. Don't go with the folks. You got in the truck right there and I ain't seen Tyna shit.
Based off Jeff talking about Tyna getting in his car with 2 men, I mean, right now, the music is playing, so Calvin's got to start dancing.
What do these 2 guys look like?
Right now, Calvin's got 2 new suspects in Tyna's murder.
I want to talk to you about Tyna.
The Tyna Bass homicide case is heating up.
The U-Haul truck came up to his U-Haul truck.
Detective Calvin Thomas interviews a witness that says victim Tyna Bass got into a vehicle with 2 unidentified men.
He got in the truck right there and I ain't seen Tyna shoot.
So now the question is, could one or both of these individuals be the actual killer? Calvin presses Jeff Bolton for details about these mystery men.
We should get in the truck with 2 men, right? I ain't get no names in that.
Only thing he really talked about was them being Hispanic.
Jeff's story raises a red flag.
It just didn't sound right. He glossed over that thing really quickly. It was no detail involved. Like it was in Calvin's head, all I would hear is, yeah, right. He wasn't buying.
What else do you remember?
Suddenly, Jeff adds a new wrinkle to his story.
I had saw Tiny again.
According to Jeff, minutes later they came back where he states that Tyna asked for a blanket.
She come back to my door and look for a quilt to lay on. I gave her a new quilt. She said, I'm gonna bring it back. I ain't seen the Tyna or the quilt.
He's brought this blanket up, and being that this is a piece of evidence that we located on the scene, I'm definitely interested more in what Jeff has to say about Tyna.
Calvin wonders if Jeff is misleading him.
Quinn and I have had cases in the past where the suspect actually inserts themselves in the investigation. I harken back to the Cassandra Bryant case, Calvin Thomas's aunt that was killed in 2003. The killer pretended to be a concerned citizen, helping with the case at first.
Is it possible that Calvin's case is shadowing his aunt's murder once again?
Calvin Thomas had to consider who's inserting themselves in this case and why are you bringing in all this other scenario of a U-Haul truck and blankets?
You don't know anything about the murder? No.
The DNA that potentially could be found on victim Tyna Bass is the most important key to solving this case, and Calvin Thomas knows that.
Will you consent to give up your DNA? Fine.
Let's go ahead and take the DNA, and let's see where we are.
Even though Jeff rises to the top of the suspect list, Calvin must first look into the men in the U-Haul.
We'll be in touch.
So you're having to take everything that you're learning and verify it?
Before following up on Jeff's lead, Calvin did a big media splash on the news. He was asking the public to call Crime Stoppers with any tips.
He then began canvassing the area of Mackenzie Drive, which is where Jeff Bolton claimed he saw Tyna get into a U-Haul with 2 guys. Calvin quickly found a home with a security camera pointed towards the street where Tyna allegedly got into that truck.
Calvin spoke with the homeowner who just happened to be Jeff's next-door neighbor. The guy didn't remember seeing a U-Haul truck the night that Tyna disappeared, but he agreed to share the video.
At this point, Calvin really didn't have a lot of information, so this video was a huge deal. If Jeff was telling the truth or if he was lying, the video could crack this case wide open.
Back at the office, Calvin reviews the surveillance video.
You have to do your due diligence and try to identify whether or not his story is believable. Jeff gave a time of between 9 and 10 p.m. of when the U-Haul truck came down Mackenzie Drive.
Calvin doesn't see the truck. He doesn't spot any signs of Tyna or Jeff either.
Calvin watched this video over and over for hours, and he saw nothing that would corroborate what Jeff said.
There's nothing on here.
So Jeff lied to me.
He could have been rinsed off with that video, but he's back in it. He goes right to the top of the suspect list.
So Calvin Thomas now, knowing that Jeff Bolton is lying, has to take a deeper dive onto just who Jeff Bolton is. Part of that in the history of working any case is criminal history. Does he fit the profile of someone capable of doing what was done to Tyna Bass?
I can see that Jeff had about 27 cycles of arrests. He was a convicted felon as well, and mostly drug offenses, burglary, and crimes against persons as well.
That's a big damn moment because that shows that this ladder that he's climbing, it could have graduated onto murder.
It put me in the state of Jeff could definitely be a suspect in this case. So we definitely want to do a search warrant on the house.
Detective Thomas.
You're working at Tyna Bass murder?
Yes.
It's the Crime Stoppers tip line. And they have a lead that's about to turn the case upside down.
We have a tipster saying they know who the killer is.
What do these two guys look like?
The key witness in the Tyna Bass homicide investigation appears to be misleading police.
There's nothing on here.
Jeff Bolton's whole story looks like a complete lie. It's time to get a search warrant for Jeff Bolton's house.
You're working at Tyna Bass murder?
Yes.
Just when it looks like Calvin Thomas's investigation is heading in one direction, it hits a detour.
We have a tipster saying they know who the killer is.
There's always a lot of twists and turns when you're looking for justice.
What's the name?
Michael Smith. He goes by the nickname Friezo, and Friezo killed Tyna.
So the tipster did state that Tyna and Friezo were drinking the night before the murder, and at some point became upset with Tyna and began to strike her.
How does the tipster know this?
He didn't say, and he wanted to remain anonymous.
This is a detour that Calvin Thomas does not want to take, but he has to. Because it's now looking like it's either going to be Friezo or it's going to be Jeff Bolton.
The first thing Calvin had to do was to vet Friezo out. He pulled Friezo's criminal history, and he had quite the lengthy record. Friezo wasn't in jail, and it was his current address that really stuck out. He lived in close proximity to the crime scene, so that was a big red flag.
At this point, Calvin turned his attention to Friezo. Police quickly tracked Friezo down and brought him to homicide for an interview. It was time for Calvin to get some answers.
Friezo agrees to a videotaped interview.
I just don't formally introduce myself to you, okay? I'll take the time. My first name, Cal.
Friezo says he's known Tyna for a while.
Friezo also openly admits that his relationship with Tyna involves sex, drugs, and violence.
How often did you guys argue? Doing something? Anytime she was drunk.
He definitely came out and said that, you know, we fought all the time.
I want to say your name, you know what I'm saying? Because your name is suspect number one. I'm just keeping it real with you. Okay? All right.
Friezo adamantly denies killing Tyna.
And I'll take a medical test, and I'll pay for it. So swallow me, please. Take my blood, whatever you gotta do. I don't kill you.
All right, man.
We do ask him to consent to a DNA swab where he does consent. So we take his DNA as well, and we send that off to the GBI for testing.
When Calvin continues the interview, Friezo swears he wasn't with Tyna, but he did in fact see her.
According to Friezo, the night before she's found dead, Tyna came by his house to get something to eat.
So when she came over, how long did she stay?
She didn't stay 5 minutes. So she long. That's what's in our I I'm in the bathroom. When I came back out, she was
gone. He's got to figure out whether or not he's going to be culpable for this murder.
So we bring up things that the tipster talked about them drinking together, about how he may have gotten upset with her and began to strike her, but he became very defensive of that.
I don't
and he just shut down.
Calvin doesn't give up.
We asked Friezo would he be open to taking a CVSA, which is a computer voice stress analyzer exam.
Friezo agrees to participate.
It's a test where it detects stress in a person, and it will give a score regarding your answers.
Usually what it does is it's just going to rule you out as any involvement with anything. That's what we're here for today, right?
Basically, they're asking questions they would ask in a polygraph.
Like I said, I'm not here to trick you.
But they're listening to your voice.
Just talk normal like being you are, we're good to go, man.
The person that's trained in this machine can ask some control questions to find out what your level of truthfulness is.
Are we in the city of Atlanta?
And then ask the hard questions.
Did you see Jeff choke Tiny?
No.
Did you choke Tiny?
No.
Out of the blue, Friezo makes a shocking statement.
I have choked you before.
What do you mean by that?
I have choked you before.
It was mind-boggling for me to even hear him say that.
I have choked you, yeah. I ain't choked you, yeah.
So when was the last time you choked her?
About 4 or 5 months ago.
4 or 5 months.
Last year. I think back in this year.
He's choked Tyna Bass in the past, and Tyna Bass later is choked to death. That's a clue in the business. One would have to consider, and Calvin Thomas did, that Friezo is the guy.
It's a new version of a polygraph test.
Friezo, a suspect in the Tyna Bass murder, agrees to do a vocal stress test.
Did you choke Tiny?
No.
And Friezo makes a damning statement.
I have choked you before.
When was the last time you choked her?
Last year. I think back in this year.
Friezo might be the killer.
But you didn't choke her on the day in question?
No, I didn't.
For him to say that, he's choked her before, definitely sent my spidey senses up on that one. So after the exam is completed, we go over the results of the exam.
He had a lot of stress, and that's what didn't get.
This test shows he's being deceptive.
So we have a problem. Okay. And I know when you said that you had choked her in the past, you tell Detective Thomas that?
No, I told her we're fighting.
You never told me you choked her.
Friezo doesn't have a response to his deception. He just pretty much met us with anger.
Don't kill him. She lying.
Don't get angry with me.
No, she's lying.
No, it's not.
She's a bullshit, man. That's bullshit. Because I was at home, man.
Just because Friezo showed deception, that's not anything Calvin Thomas could have held him for. Can't arrest him. It's not even admissible in court.
I think I'm going to stop this because I know who I was. I know I ain't did it. Because I will never arrest him.
He's got to let him go.
Friezo walking out of that door, it definitely left me feeling like he was involved in this murder.
After the interview, Calvin gets word that the search warrant for Jeff Bolton's home is approved.
We go out and we serve a search warrant at Jeff's house.
I joined Calvin on the search. I'm just an extra set of eyes. I'm an experienced detective that knows what to look for, so Calvin Thomas asked me to come with him.
Hey, BD, we have a warrant.
No one answered the door, so we had to force entry. Literally using a battering ram, had to bust the front door open to get inside this house.
The house is extremely dirty, it's filthy. We were looking for blood. We were looking for moving blankets. We were looking for the electrical wiring that the victim was tied up in as well.
And as I traversed down this hallway, I looked down and I saw a reddish-brown substance that I was very familiar with. A substance I've seen many times in my career.
Come. What's up, man? Check it out.
And I pointed down, and Detective Thomas looked at it and said, "Yeah, V, that's blood."
We got him.
First thing that goes to my head is, I think we found our crime scene.
This evidence could break the case wide open.
Yo, John, come get a photo of this. Let's keep going.
My first big find was a bloody shoe print that was on the floor of the house. So we swabbed that shoe print.
As we continue doing the search warrant at Jeff Bolton's house, we both look at each other, we're like, no way. There's a blue moving blanket, identical to the one that Tyna Bass is wrapped in.
You crossing Friezo off the suspect list? I don't know if we can do that just yet.
Right now, our boy Calvin's got his hands full. He's got this really compelling case with Jeff. So is the killer Jeff? Is it Friezo? Or is it both of them?
Well, DNA test should sort it out.
Suddenly, Calvin gets a surprise visitor.
Hey, Jeff Bolton's outside. Wants to talk to you guys.
It's all adding up, and the sum of all totals we're looking at right now is named Jeff Bolton.
Come up with some answers.
Calvin brought Jeff to the homicide office and did round 2 with him. He asked Jeff about the blood found in his home. Jeff claimed that Tyna had tripped and cut herself and explained that's why there was blood in the house. It didn't make sense, and Jeff said he didn't do it, and he said all he's gonna say.
With no hard evidence against him, Jeff was allowed to leave. But Calvin told him, we're gonna be speaking again. Days passed by with no new leads, and the forensic testing had yet to be completed.
Calvin believed in his heart that Jeff was involved, and he decided to take another run at him.
Jeff, hop in so we can have a word.
Calvin heads over to Jeff's house and convinces him to have a chat in his car.
I put my mic on and just went right in and started speaking to him.
Calvin decides to use a new tactic with Jeff.
Many times detectives have to introduce an alternative reality. He now has to give him something. It's called an out.
Let me ask you this. Was it an accident?
Huh?
Was it an accident?
Yeah.
Jeff actually jumped on. He latched on to that idea of it being an accident. Why was it an accident? Just tell me that. I felt like it was like the sun really came out.
Cause it wasn't meant to happen.
I was like, oh my God, like we're almost there.
Hop in so we can have a word.
Jeff Bolton, the prime suspect in the Tyna Bass murder, seems to be on the verge of confessing.
While speaking with Jeff, I wanted to at least give him an out for if he did commit this murder. Was it an accident?
Yeah.
That was brilliant on Calvin Thomas's part to ask that question. If it was a mistake or you didn't mean it to happen, go ahead and tell me.
Why was it an accident? Just tell me that.
Cause it wasn't meant to happen.
I felt like we're almost there. Just keep plugging along, keep plugging along. Who caused the accident itself?
The other 2 people.
Okay, I don't know, but
it wasn't Friezo. I'm just trying to make sure Friezo ain't in this.
It was like he was freeing him from it, and I couldn't understand why.
I was drunk. I knew I was good and drunk.
And that's why it was an accident, right? Because you were drunk, stuff happened, right?
No, I ain't talking about me. With other folks running him out.
Who was other folks, Jeff? He's all over the place. He's talking about he hadn't had any sleep, how he wanted to kill himself.
Man, did you realize I almost hung myself? Did you realize I almost took an overdose of people?
Let's stay focused on this accident. I wasn't going to let it go until I got a little bit more information. Tell me what you remember, and then I'll work with you on the rest of that.
Okay. Come to the house.
Okay. Now, is you tight end? Who else?
Yeah, Donnie.
That's when he interjects Little Donnie into the scene. Who was Little Donnie?
You gotta go out and get high and crazy.
According to Jeff, they were smoking crack, and Little Donnie became upset with Tyna for some reason. And Little Donnie is the one that hit Tyna in the face. Jeff stated that he left, and came back to the house, no one was there. Very convenient.
There's no such thing as a little Donnie. This is a crutch put together by Jeff Bolton just to get suspicion away from his name.
I just want to hear the truth.
I don't know what I did.
Okay.
If I did, then I ain't need to do it.
That's exactly the result that Calvin Thomas was looking for. An innocent person doesn't say that.
All right, Jeff. We're done.
Calvin Thomas had affirmation and confirmation at that moment that he had the right guy.
But we wanted to be sure and wait on the results from the GBI. I'm thinking, you know, at any day it could come in.
It takes 3 weeks before all the forensic testing is completed.
The blood that Venn and Detective Thomas found in Jeff Bolton's home comes back to actually being Tyna's blood.
Her boyfriend, Isaiah's DNA was not located anywhere on the victim. Friezo's DNA was not located on the victim.
And then upon further analysis, it's found that Jeff's DNA is under the fingernails of our victim, Tyna Bass. It's a rat. Jeff's the dude. The hands don't lie. Based on all the evidence and statements, Calvin pieces together what happened to Tyna Bass.
Tyna, Jeff, and another person that's unknown at this particular time were smoking crack cocaine. At some point, an argument ensued. A fight occurred. And Tyna was assaulted physically and strangled. Jeff rolled her up in a blanket, tied her up, and put her in the trash can to try to get rid of her. And so that's what I believe happened that particular night.
On April 13th, 2016, Jeff Bolton is charged with Tyna Bass's murder, but the case never goes to trial.
Jeff pleads guilty to murder, where he's ultimately sentenced to 30 years.
Congratulations on
Thank
solving
you,
the
man.
case.
Thank you.
My
I appreciate
brother.
that.
Great job on that, man. Great job.
Thank you, man. It really meant a lot to get some justice for Tyna's family, man.
When I think about this case and everything that Calvin Thomas had to go through to find justice for Tyna Bass.
Yo, I got something.
And then the connection that Calvin Thomas has to myself and Detective Quinn.
What's up, man? Check it out.
And then what we did to help him on this case, and then going back to when Quinn and I worked Calvin Thomas's aunt's case, Cassandra Bryant.
This case meant a lot to me, mainly because of the similarities between it